Hey there, toy collector friends and Transformers fans alike. Welcome back to the channel. I am the time-travelling toy collector, and this is the Transformers War for Cybertron trilogy, Quintesson Pit of Judgement. And I'm really excited about this. This is one of my holy grail purchases. It's quite big, so we're in a slightly different review area, and you can see that the light is causing some problems, but I'm going to fix that, mostly because the front of the box is this massive, great big window, which we're going to deal with very shortly, and then hopefully it'll be much better. So this is, as I say, this was one of my holy grails. I didn't even know it existed until a little while ago, and for those of you who are aware of the Studio Series 86 collection, that is predominantly in essence, the animated cast of the Transformers, the movie from 1986, being given a G1 feel, animation accurate feel, but with modern day engineering, and it contains a lot of the characters from that, including the Sharkticon Nor. But this is a precursor, I believe, to the Studio Series 86 range. It was a box set of figures that was supposed to be I've opened it, so it's going to be easier for me to sort out in a second, but the top flap keeps opening up, I'm afraid. There's 5 figures. Some are transforming, some are not, and they're all characters from the relatively famous courtroom sequence within the Transformers animated movie. And I don't believe prior to this, in this iteration, they'd been released before. I know Sharkticons had been released back in the 80s, but again, I'd never received one. I don't think Quintessons had been, Alicons had been. I certainly don't believe the Prosecutorium. It's seeing it in front of me is just quite something. But I found it at a Comic-Con convention, and I did that thing. I did that dreadful thing where you see the thing that you want, and then you walk away from it going, well, if it's still there, because it wasn't cheap. I'm thinking, well, if it's still there, I'll go back and get it. And I did a quick search online, which is my go-to sort of check now, just to see what sort of prices was it bringing online, to see whether or not this was worth picking up from the stall. And where I could find it online, which wasn't very many places, the price was exorbitant and much, much higher than at the convention. So it turned on my heel, went back and purchased it straight away, without any hesitation whatsoever, and frankly, it was the right thing to do. So you can see here, and I'll do a little look at the box, but then we'll get it out, because it blends a few elements of what would become the Studio Series 86 range flavors. But obviously it came out with the original War for Cybertron trilogy stuff that Hasbro put out, so sort of Siege, Earthrising, Kingdom time frame. But let's take a quick look at the packaging. So I'm getting very distracted with my own purchase. So as we see, Quintesson Pit of Judgement there. We've got War for Cybertron trilogy, Hasbro 8 years and more. Well, I'm definitely eligible for that. Lovely shot of Kranix there. On the top of the box, it's got Quintesson Pit of Judgement and the Quintesson symbol. The sides are relatively dreary. They're just sort of prison-esque artwork. The back is not a product shot, so I'm going to move slightly to give you, I'm going to pan out a bit so you can see this. It's utilising the Transformers the movie logo here, so I'm going to include this in my Studio Series 86 playlists, not least because I do have a space in my Studio Series collection where I didn't pick up the sweep, because in essence the sweep was just a retool, well, was it even a retool? They swapped the hands around. A recolor slight of Studio Series 86 Scourge, and I'm kind of not so collectible driven that I'm going to fork out the same price for both of those. I think the price for the sweep may come down and I might pick it up at a future point, but for here and now this can be my entry instead of the sweep. So moving up, we have some artwork there, which is again perhaps not as great as some of the artwork we would get in the future around the Studio Series stuff, but it does give us the Quintesson judge with the many faces on his throne there with his tentacles, the many-armed, many-tentacled creature there. We've then got the Sharkticons in the molten slag pool thing there. We've got Kranix there at the end of the plank. And over here we've got I think it's the prosecutor, or either he's the prosecutor. I'll double check in a second. It's one or the other. But yeah, so it's a bit of artwork there just to take us back to 1986 and that sequence within the Transformers the movie. What have we got down here? We've just got some words, 5 figures, don't eat the plastic bits because it's not good for you kind of stuff, in case you weren't aware. And the rest of it, yeah, all good. So I'm going to pause there whilst I get the figures out of the box. And what an impressive collection it is. The box is quite cool, by the way, because it actually has a front flap that opens outwards, so you can just lift the entirety of it up without doing any damage to the box if you're careful. We'll do a little sort of pan around this because I almost don't want to touch it just yet, because I don't want too much reflecting light to disrupt what we're looking at. But I will bring it in a bit closer to look at some of these figures independently. But before I do that, as I say, we'll do a little pan around it, and then I'm going to share with you the biggest problem that I have with this set. Don't get me wrong, the rest of it is very positive, but I do have a problem, and you'll see what that is in a second. Anyway, let's start down here at the base of this. And there we have a Sharkticon figure, and I really love the colorization here. He's smaller than Nor turns out to be in the Studio Series 86 proper range. I don't know, I'm guessing he's a retool from an alternative version, maybe Titan's Return or Power of the Primes variant that's been recolored. It doesn't look quite as sophisticated a transformation, but all that to one side, I'm loving the detailing and the colors here. Look at that lovely purple, metallic purple, and how it pops with the blues there, and those eyes are brilliant. Anyway, I love that. And there he is in the pit with others, Sharkticons swimming around. Moving up here, we have the Alicon figure. I'm going to adjust it slightly for us. But the Alicon figure there, as you can see, again, some wonderful, wonderful purple paintwork there around the face and on the body detailing. It's an Alicon, and he is the bailiff. Yeah, so I didn't know a moment ago. Got all my bits muddled up. So yeah, the Alicon is the bailiff in this scenario, but it's a colour I believe that's unique to this set. So very nice, very, very nice figure. In the middle we have poor old Kranix there. So let's just zoom in on poor old Kranix for a moment. So not a massive figure, probably slightly larger than a Minicon, I would say. Quite nicely detailed to the film. He can't transform. I'm not too sure if he has any. He doesn't seem to have any articulation either, which doesn't hugely surprise me. But there he is, making his, I think, debut appearance. Over here we have, and I was right calling him the prosecutor character there, which has a opposable head and these nasty little things there, and a preset propulsion system that he hovers on top of. And I use the word hovers extremely loosely. But again, that's a non-transforming figure that doesn't really have any posability. But again, some lovely paintwork and some lovely sculpting. Then we'll come to the middle, back to the middle, back up to the top. And here we have, I'll have to zoom out a little bit for this one. I think it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's 6 faces, 7 faces, I think, in maybe it's 5 faces. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It could be 5 faces. I should say 5 Faces of Darkness is the episode, isn't it? So I'm guessing there's 5 faces. But this is the Quintesson Judge, again with dangly tendrils beneath. 5 different faces, some of which are articulated with mouth movements. And he comes on that sort of blast effect so that he can sit upon his throne. Again, really nice figure. I also have this figure, same with the Alicon. I have the figure in the War for Cybertron range, and that's out of the packaging, and you can transform it into a little jail cell. And at some point, I'm sure I'll look at that in another video. And that's really, if you like, that's the core of this set. And you can see it's very well laid out. It's a very nice presentation case. And it has echoes of, because by default, really, it has echoes of the Studio Series 86, because here it comes, as do they, with a backdrop, a backdrop that's very, very effective for the figures that it's covering. Now, my problem that I promised you I'd talk about, and the reason I haven't taken these figures off the display case yet, is I don't want to damage it. So whereas with Studio Series 86 figures and other Studio Series figures, you can take the backdrop out and then you can stand the figures on it, and it's a wonderful, wonderful thing you can do. Here, the plastic is sellotaped and or glued to the cardboard. So it's going to be an absolute nightmarish job trying to get this cardboard and this plastic separated. It's really, really held together very, very firmly. And my worry would be that if I start to detach these figures from this backdrop and from their plastic housing, I'm going to start ruining the backdrop, and I really, really don't want to. And it's very frustrating. Very frustrating, because I think these are some really great figures, and I could do, and I want to do so much with them. You see, I can get away with Kranix probably, because he's not really attached to anything apart from there is this cardboard plank. This cardboard plank is supported by this plastic section here, and if this plastic section here is removed, do I think that the wooden plank gangway would sustain the weight of Kranix? Well, I don't know. And the only way to find out is to take the risk of it not sustaining his weight and being damaged irreparably. I could probably reinforce it from underneath, but not really the point. And again, removing some of these you can just see the sellotape comes right across the front without any, you can't see, sorry, apologies, that's me getting carried away. But again, from this front bit here, you can see the sellotape is it's just right across the front, so it's really easy. Some of it might be easier than other bits. I might be being a bit over dramatic about it, but some of this definitely is not. These side sections here are absolutely sellotaped beyond belief. I mean, if I turn it around, you can see how this is sellotaped in. There you go. You can see that's easier if I show you that way. It'll be more apparent. So yeah, I'm actually a little bit miffed about that, because I would love to take these figures out, use the playset for some photography, and I don't feel that I want to take the risk, because I've only got one of these and I can't, hand on heart, say it would be easy to replace unless they do a re-release of it. Originally the set, as I understand it, was going to be released as part of a convention exclusive, I believe a San Diego convention exclusive, and then possibly released in some worldwide. But then COVID struck, and that sort of put the kibosh on that. And so the limited stock that was created was then dispatched out into the world and made its way to various retailers, and the rest, of course, is history. And then this one made its way to a Comic-Con, and I was able to purchase it, and I'm really very happy about that. But yeah, I'm don't get me wrong, thrilled to have it, love it, irked that I kind of can't do anything with it for running the risk of damaging the backdrop. I've seen a couple of other online reviewers who've got this set, and they have used like a craft knife to cut through it, but they've experienced the exact same dilemmas, because where that's happened, they are still cutting into some of the cardboard, or indeed some of the cardboard isn't as robust once you take away that sellotape element. So it's tricky. Now, you know, in the good old days, 8-9-year-old me wouldn't have given a monkey, so I'd have torn it off the set and used my imagination, which of course I'm quite capable of doing now, but I just think it's such a lovely presentation box and set that it's just a bit gutting that we're stuck in that situation where we have to make those choices. Anyway, let me come a bit closer so we can see some of these figures. Let's start with this bailiff character. I think that's a really lovely head sculpt. I wish I could hold it in my hand and show you. And at some point I may revisit it once I've found a solution to my fears and problems and woes, because I'm very aware that I can't even transform these for you to show you what they look like in their alt mode. But to be honest, I'm more interested in the set as it stands. There we have the sculpt of the judge, which again is very good. And the figure does rotate, so there's a rotating section there that the faces will rotate round almost randomly. And some of them are adjustable. They've got adjustable mouths, which is nice. They don't all have. I'm not sure why, but they don't all have. And along with the chair section and the main judge section, it can transform into a little jail cell, which again I can show you in the War for Cybertron standalone figure. There we have wee little Tranix, which actually is not a bad sculpt, is it? You can sort of see that face sculpt and that body sculpt. Considering he's so tiny, it's a really nice inclusion, I think, for this set. Also gives an awful lot of scale to these other creatures. Whether it's the right scale or not remains to be discussed, but I think it's a nice inclusion. Then we of course have the prosecutor with his, I'm trying to get a good shot of his face there. Look at that face. Again, very screen accurate, as much as you can be to a 1986 cartoon. So I do really appreciate it, and I really appreciate the work on it. The I was going to call them arms, let's call them arms. The tentacles for arms don't actually rotate. They are on a they're on a soft rubber, plasticky type mold, but they don't actually rotate at all. So they're not. So there's an element of posability missing there. The head has a little bit of side to side. Not much else really you can do with that figure. Both that figure and Kranix are non-transforming figures. The other three are transforming. Let's close with a nice close-up, hopefully a nice close-up of this Sharkticon, unnamed Sharkticon. But I really love the colour scheme on this guy. I really do, I must say. It's absolutely lovely. And again, I'm very aware that all the plastic holding it in place is very irritating, and I will give it some due thought. If anyone has any ideas about the best way to release the figures and salvage the backdrop, please leave them in the comments. Alternatively, just tell me to sort myself out, get over myself, and just get the figures out and, you know, fix the backdrop afterwards, which is what a little voice inside of me keeps saying, but there's a louder voice that says, no, you'll never be able to fix it, which is a really annoying voice, but it seems to be winning at the moment. I love this set. I don't know whether you have this set in your collection or it's a set that you'd really like to get your hands on. If it is a set you'd really like to get your hands on, I don't blame you. I think it is splendid as a set. As I say, there's a lot to be admiring about this set. I think the layers, I get that it's cardboard. So, you know, I'm getting very excited and worked up about a cardboard backdrop. I understand how that sounds. Believe me, I can hear myself. But again, I'm from a time when I got very excited about a cardboard Death Star or a cardboard G.I. Joe Action Force headquarters that were pretty much, again, the same cardboard things, just painted differently. So, yeah. But for me, something cardboard that's robust, that looks like this, it sort of tweaks all my nostalgia buttons which is one of the reasons I'm so loath to start uncoupling these figures. I'll quickly show you this. This is the instruction booklet. I don't usually bore people with the instructions booklet, but what I like about this is that it's in colour. Most of them are black and white, or you know, monochrome, whatever the chrome in question might be. But this is in colour mostly. The characters are in colour, so when you look at how they transform, you've got colour representations of the individual figures, which I really like. I thought that's quite a nice touch. So we can actually see, and there's the Sharkticon in reverse. So yeah, I think we can see there that it's it looks like it's, I think that's the power of the Primes mould, but there'll be people out there more knowledgeable than I around that. And there's the Alicon transformed up. Again, I love that colour scheme on the Alicon. So yeah, so I really liked that this was a colour. It made it feel slightly more special as well. So that's a lovely thing. But yeah, so this is the Sharkticon Quintesson, the Pit of Justice from the Transformers 1986 animated movie, and I really love it. It was a bit expensive, but then you think 5 figures across a range of classes, I think it was alright. I don't believe I was diddled out of any money, so I'm quite happy. And at the end of the day, that's all that matters. I think if you can find it and you do collect these figures, I think it's a real must if you can. It was a holy grail for me, so I dare say it's possibly a holy grail for others as well. I really like it. I am so close to just sort of unfastening the various bits and pieces to get these figures off. I'm sort of thinking, as I'm talking about it out loud to you, I am thinking that I might just sort of cut the figures out and leave the plastic inserts where they are. I don't know how that will look, but it will probably help me with return storage, because again, this makes for a really nice display base. And again, I think if I start dismantling some of the plastic elements that are holding it together, the robustness of the cardboard may cease to be, and it may not take the weight of some of the figures. So I think the plastic may have to be an entity that remains. But you know, I might have to just live with that and get over myself and do a follow-up review on the individual figures once they're detached from the playset. I call it a playset because I'm a nostalgic romantic. So anyway, that's my sort of tour around the Quintesson Pit of Justice from the Transformers the movie 1986. It's a War for Cybertron trilogy entry, but it also pays homage to that Studio Series 86 range, and it has sort of Studio Series 86 range vibe, so it's going to be my next entry into that playlist as well, making up for the lack of the sweep. What do you think? Do you think this is a good set? Do you like the set? Do you like what's in the set? Is it a set that you wish you had, or do you have, and does it deserve a slot on your shelf? Well, only you really know the answer to that, but from my point of view, it ticks so many nostalgic buttons for me that I couldn't not put this into my collection, and I'm so grateful that it sort of came my way quite by chance. So grateful about that, I can't tell you. However, if you're looking for it, you're probably going to have to check some online retailers or the secondary market now. I believe there were some murmurings it was going to be re-released because it was such a short packed item that it was going to be re-released, but honestly I don't know how true that is, and I've not seen or heard any word about that. But who knows what the future may yet hold. We can but hope, I guess. So, thank you. It just remains for me to thank you very much for staying with me as I've rambled my way around the Quintesson Pit of Justice, and appreciate you spending the last best part of 20 minutes of your time with me, if not a bit longer, actually, by the time we get to the end. You've been a fantastic audience. If you found this of interest, if not a little too rambling and the mutterings of a madman, then please do like the video, hit the subscribe button, and then you'll never miss a future video, and turn on those notifications as well. You may also want to go and check out my War for Cybertron playlist. I also have a Studio Series 86 playlist. Recently completed my Transformers Legacy Stunticons playlist with Menasor having united all the Stunticons, so you might want to go and have a look at that. There's also Star Wars, Star Trek, Doctor Who, Battlestar Galactica, some G.I. Joe. There's all kinds of things out there in the channel, so do have a wander around, see what you like, and let me know in the comments. You've been a fantastic audience. I've been the Time Travelling Toy Collector. This has been the Transformers War for Cybertron Trilogy Quintesson Pit of Justice, but the hint of Studio Series 86, but that's if you squint. And it only remains for me to say that a thing of beauty, and this really is, truly is a toy forever. And I'll see you in the next video. Take care and bye-bye for now.